man, red is so hard to paint. Oh, how about yellow? Oh, this isn't looking good. This is terrible.
Hey, let me try to show you something that I think might help. Hello everyone. Oftentimes you'll hear that there are certain colors that are difficult to paint with, such as reds, yellows, oranges. There are a lot of reasons why that is true, but one of the biggest things that I see, especially with newer painters, is that they are painting over a black primed miniature. Red is a color that is notoriously known to be hard to paint. Many years ago, when I first started heavily getting into miniature painting, I was playing War Machine. I played the faction Khador, and I loved their main color, red. I mean, red Khador do look the coolest. White Khador look cool too, but I digress. So, I had to paint a lot of red. Back in that time, I would have told you for sure, oh yeah, red takes forever to paint. You gotta put layer after layer on it. But here's the thing. I was painting over black primed miniatures. Nowadays, I almost always prime in a zenithal style, where you take a miniature, you prime it all black, and then you take some white paint and you prime the top part of it white. And when I do the zenithal, I tend anymore to prime a lot of white around the whole thing. So there's a little bit of black on the underside, but there's a lot of white on top. Why do I do that? I do it because I personally enjoy the painting process a lot more. You can see details a lot better. You get kind of a built-in lighting effect right off the bat, so it goes from dark to light. And I just find it quicker and easier, and I enjoy painting on top of white primer well more than I do over black primer these days. Now first off, I am not saying you can't paint over black primer and you can't have good results over black primer. There are plenty of pros that paint over black primer and have no issues. What I am saying is that if you are finding it difficult to paint these difficult colors, there is a good possibility that it's because you're painting over black primer and it's maybe getting you frustrated. So what I'm recommending is you paint over white primer to see if that helps reduce that frustration. Because painting should be fun, and it is. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the differences between painting over white and black primer.
Alright, so I have two bone jacks from Privateer Press's War Machine. I'm going to grab some Scorn Red. I'm going to throw it on my wet palette here, and we will go ahead and give this a go. So I'm just putting a quick layer on these armor plates. The goal here is just try to get one layer down and show you what it looks like. I'm not trying to be clean, I'm not trying to make it look super nice, I'm just trying to get one layer down to show you the coverage between going over a black primer and going over a white primer. When you're painting miniatures with acrylic, the underneath color typically shows through a little bit, and that is one of the biggest reasons why when you paint over a black primed miniature, you see a lot of that black splotchiness. Now it doesn't mean that this one on the right here is perfect, but you can see the coverage is a lot better. And if you're looking for a darker version of red, you can always go in and put shading in and make that red look dark. Both were painted about the exact same amount of time, nothing special between the two, but look at the two. I mean, there is a huge difference between these two. Now I went ahead and flipped these bone jacks around and we're going to paint the other side, and this time I'm going to use this yellow color from Privateer Press, and we're doing the same thing. I'm just going to try to do one coat to kind of give you an idea of what the coverage is like. As you can see, that black is showing through a lot with this yellow color. So it's not like the white primer is perfect or anything, but as you can see, there is a major difference on that first coat. To make that yellow prettier, I would have to put another layer on the model on the right, but on that model on the left, I'd have to put many layers on. And in fact, with my Crix army, I used to do that all the time. So I was the guy wasting a lot of time painting on the left side there. Huge difference between the two. So I have two new bone jacks, and we're going to do the same thing, except I'm going to use a red contrast paint. And here I'm just going to put one quick coat in. I'm not worried about being clean, I'm just kind of doing it to show you the coverage. Now obviously contrast paints are not meant to be put over black primer, they even tell you that. I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of how that looks, because a lot of the underneath color shows through with this type of paint. Getting people to use that white primer is kind of a step in the right direction in my opinion when you first start painting. It not only covers well, but the colors are a little bit brighter, and it's a time saver. Just in case you are putting contrast paints over black primer, these are kind of the results. That poor bone chicken on the left doesn't even look like it has paint on it. So I went and hunted down that person that was painting the Harlequin in the beginning of the video. I have no idea who that was. And I have primed this Harlequin white, and I want to show you the exact same areas that that person was painting with the same colors. As you can see, the coverage is applying so much smoother and better. Let's try the yellow out because that looked really bad earlier. Check it out. Look at that guy. That's not too bad of a start. Way better than before. Okay, let's see when this guy was made. 1992. Oh yeah, the good old days. Days of Nirvana, Ninja Turtles, X-Men. A lot of good things happening in 92.
So going back, I spent way too much time back in the day painting red on my Cador Minis. I wish I would have tried white primer a lot sooner. Now, I did try white primer, but I didn't do the zenithal. So there's a couple things I think why I ditched out on white primer right away. Number one is I decided I really wanted dark paint schemes. Like, yeah, I really want kind of a darker red. I don't want super bright colors, this and that. Well, you can paint a dark scheme painting over white primer. That's just on me. I just didn't know any better at the time. Number two, when I was trying white primer, I was priming the entire model white. So what I ended up finding was I was getting a little frustrated because I'd paint and then I'd see all these little tiny spots all over that I happened to miss. So I'd have to go back and do that, and it just kind of turned me off on it, I guess. When you paint over black, those little tiny spots you don't see because they're a little tiny black spot instead of a white spot. So when I finally started doing zenithal and going from dark to light before I started painting miniatures, it was eye-opening. I absolutely loved it. Let's take a look at some of the Cador Minis I painted. Now, these have been 6+ years ago. I was just starting to really get into painting. All of my Cador were primed, just doing straight black around the whole mini. And yes, I did layer after layer after layer of red paint on these things. The result, not my favorite, but I was also learning, so it wasn't too big of a deal at the time. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of painted armies too, so that's always a good thing. I love fully painted armies. I love using them and I love playing against them. Having a fully painted army lets you roll better too. It's proven. Harvard did studies on it in 2008. Totally proven. So jumping forward to just a couple years back, here's a Sorsha bust that I painted. Now the red on this didn't actually take me a very long time at all. And as I was painting, I wasn't sitting there being frustrated either. I even put this thing in the 2019 P3 Gen Con paint competition. So if you were at Gen Con in 2019, you may have seen it in their display case. You may not have though, because that year their display case was tiny, crammed, and kind of cloudy. Your breath's so high. As you can see, painting red for me drastically changed over time. And one of the biggest reasons is because I decided to stop painting over black prime miniatures. Experience does help, I got more and more experience, but again, that white primer was a game changer. How about we see what the pug thinks between these test models that we painted? She doesn't care. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a like and subscribe. I know I really enjoyed making the video. It's always a blast. What I want you to get out of this video is just remember, there's no wrong or right way to paint. But if you ever find yourself being frustrated painting certain colors and you're painting them over black primer, I just suggest trying white primer next time, especially the zenithal if you can. Give it a go, see what you think, see if it reduces that frustration so you can have more fun and potentially paint quicker, because we all know we have a few minis that still need to be painted. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, let me know if you did switch from black to white primer and let me know your experience. Did it change things for you? Was it a game changer? As always, don't forget to hobby and have fun. We'll see you next time. Thanks. Man, I hope that's in focus. Ha! 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 I feel like I should have minis in my hands. Let's take a look at some of the Cador minis. Dude. Hey. What I want you to get out of this video is just to remember,